Shoots and Score Hockey Talk, where we talk everything hockey. I am John.
I'm Mike.
I'm Chris.
All right, gentlemen, let's go. Now, the first topic on tonight's discussion is longtime friend of the show, Craig Button, who I love poking fun at every once in a while. I bring him up a few times a year. I just happened to be watching TSN here a few days ago, and he was asked point blank by one of their hosts, said, was Seth Jarvis the best injury replacement for Team Canada? I had to bring this up, of course, Chris, because I know you are a big Seth Jarvis fan.
Seth freaking Jarvis.
Say his full Jarvis, name. That's right. Is he the proper replacement? And Craig Button answered right away, and he said no. Right off the bat, he said Zach Hyman should have been the one picked because of McDavid's numbers. They became so much better once Hyman was back in the Oilers lineup. Now, because of this, I have a couple of questions for you guys. Should it have been Hyman instead of Jarvis? And the second part of this is, if so, would Hyman be playing with McDavid and increase McDavid's performance? Like our great good friend Craig Button suggested. And yes, I want you guys to speculate. Mike, I want you to go first on this. What do you think about this? Is Craig Button full of crap or what?
A player that's pretty much a healthy scratch because they have so many guys is going to determine how this team does. Then we're in more trouble than what we think. So, no, this to me, it's either or. I mean, yes, the argument for Hyman that he plays with McDavid, all that stuff, he would be the better fit. However, Jarvis is the better all-around player. He can play multiple positions, so. He's the best guy for the team because if somebody gets hurt, they can put him into pretty much any spot. Whereas with Hyman, he can't play center. So if a center gets hurt, then, you got to look at somebody else because it can't be him. So Jarvis is the utility knife that he can kind of do, more things than what Hyman is capable of. So, to me, I think it's the right choice to pick Jarvis. I understand the arguments for Hyman and whatnot. However, I think for the team, when it comes down to if somebody were to get hurt, Jarvis would be the better fit for the team.
Chris, what do you think?
Oh, 100% in Seth freaking Jarvis's corner on this one. And to me, it's not even close. If you asked every GM in the league, you have an opportunity to have Seth Jarvis or Hyman. I won't say 100% because we know there's some dumb GMs out there, but probably 95% are going to take Jarvis over Hyman. And any discussion about McDavid will be better because he's on his line. Come on. McDavid is a generational player, right? He's a star. Zach Hyman's not helping him become that player. It's ridiculous. My thoughts about Button. I don't know why they pay that man and ask for his opinions.
Well, I assume he's coming on there for free.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they're paying him something. No, his history is not good with Button there. And again, I'm assuming it's the Hymans are a well-known rich family out in Ontario, and they know people, and this could be someone's agenda to push their son, ask some questions. Why did they make the Olympics? But I'm not buying it. Seth Jarvis all the way. Simple as that.
Well, I think that when you look at this overall, do you think that McDavid could get more points maybe if Hyman was on his line?
No. He's playing with better players than Hyman. With this, that's what it is, right? He's playing with better players. And
Celebrini's not a better player, is he?
Oh, yes.
So to say, I did watch the game this afternoon, and McDavid ended up with 3 points in today's game. So,
without Hyman?
He did pretty good. Looked like he did pretty good without Hyman.
How did he do it?
It was just total luck.
It must have been 100% luck. Yeah, pure luckiest player alive out there, McDavid. They're so lucky.
All right, okay. You guys made your point. Let's go on to the second question. I had to bring up,
oh, yeah.
Button He's an old-time favorite. We got to talk about him whenever he comes out with anything that's
He gives us
crazy.
good
So
content. He
he
gives us good
does give us
content.
good content, absolutely. The second topic is the Olympic team rankings. Now, an article from Daily Faceoff by Scott Maxwell with Hunter Crowther ranks the 12 teams in the Olympic tournament. Maxwell says that they use a witty banter and competent analysis, which caught my eye immediately. I thought, well, now we got to ask Chris about this.
Mm.
The team's ranking lineups, pretty much line up with what you guys were saying about a month ago. Team Canada first, USA second, Sweden third, Finland fourth, whatever, blah, blah, blah. If Team Russia were in this tournament, this is the question I have. What ranking would you guys give them? Where would their ranking sit in amongst all this, guys? What do you say, Chris? Team Russia's in the tournament. They got all their
Yeah.
players. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I hope they don't go with Igor Larionov's team that he put out there with no Shevnikov. Holy jeez. Again, politics happening there. Um, two or three. It's two or three with that Russian team. Flip a coin, right? If you think they're better than the Americans or not. But pretty stacked team. Good goaltending, good offense, defense. The defense is probably the concern on a Russia team, but elite goaltending, elite forwards. Yeah, I'd have them in the 2 and 3, interacting with the USA.
What do you say, Mike? You think Chris is right? 2 or 3? Would you put them lower? Would you put them number 1?
No, I put them as a 2 or a 3 as well. As far as offense goes, they're loaded. They would have a loaded team for offense. Defense would be the question mark, like Chris said. Goaltending, no issues. You got Vasilevsky, so but defense would be the area of concern with that team. So they would be looking to outscore teams pretty much and rely on Vasilevsky or Bobrovsky or whomever. And I presume Vasilevsky would be the number one. So yeah. But they'd be great games if the Russians were there. Would be very high scoring games. So unfortunately, the situation is what it is. So they're not there. But yeah, definitely 2 or 3. I'd probably slot them in third, only because I think they would have the weakest defense between the top 3 of Canada, the U.S., and the Russians.
Okay, I have a part B to this question. Now, one of the other gentlemen in this article, Maxwell, he says, now I'm going to quote him here. It amazes me how the United States continues to overthink its roster for international competition. I get wanting certain players for certain roles, but it's not like going for all talent will produce a result worse than the 2016 World Cup. Is Maxwell right? He's basically saying that they're undercutting themselves here. What do you think, Mike? You think Maxwell's right about this?
I think the team they picked is, pretty spot on for the most part. The only question mark is, they left Lane Hudson off the roster, so that's some offense that they left out. But you could make an argument for any of the other players. I think that the team is pretty solid. They've got their depth guys that know the role that they're playing. Brock Nelson scored a couple of goals today, and he was playing fourth line. So I don't think you could change too much with that U.S. team. Like I said, maybe have Caulfield and Hudson on the team, but it's it all depends how you want to construct your team, and I think they're basically trying to construct their team to beat Canada, and Canada in return had to bring Tom Wilson on the team, primarily because of the United States. If not for that, I think he might have been one of the guys left off the team. So, but I wouldn't be changing too much on that USA team. Maybe Hudson and Caulfield would have made it, but aside from that, probably not too many changes.
Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I got 2 other names that should be there. One, well, 100% should be there, in my opinion, and that's Fox and Robinson.
Yes.
Fox and who?
Robinson.
Oh, Robertson. Yeah, absolutely, Robertson.
Yeah.
I forgot him. But Fox was hurt, so I don't know if they were concerned with that or not. So
Well, I think what happened to Four Nations last year is what kind of hurt Fox in their eyes. But those two should be there for sure. I understand. Like Garen came out and basically talked. You got to play a 200-foot game. You got to win the battles in the corners. That kind of hurt Caulfield and DeBrickett. But Jason Robinson, like I'm confused by that.
Yeah.
Trocheck, they brought him in because of face-offs, so on and so forth. Fourth line guy. He didn't win face-offs in the Four Nations. He struggled there, and they're bringing him back again. So yeah, I understand what Maxwell's trying to say. There's a lot of talent they're kind of not bringing for guys that are kind of should they be there? Can they contribute? We'll see. But yeah, I'm on Maxwell's corner. I think Americans left some good talent behind.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm shocked that Caulfield isn't on the team. I was shocked. And Hudson, it's almost like an anti-Montreal Canadiens scenario here. We're not going to bring these Montreal Canadiens on our team.
I think it's a size thing. Garen, like I said, Garen talked about size and strength, and
size doesn't mean anything when you're flying 5,000 miles an hour down the ice.
Yeah, if you had a different GM who had a different mindset, those guys are probably there.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it is what it is. And I thought that the article was interesting, and I wanted to bring it up and see what you guys thought of it. So, let's go on to our third topic. Now, I don't want to forget about the women's game. Now, I've been watching some of the women's games play the Olympic hockey. I watched Germany play, France, Italy, Canada, and the U.S. These women, they go all out and they compete hard. The Canada-USA game the other night was Team Canada's worst ever loss at the Olympics, 5-0 beating. And the game was not really close. It was not close. Now that's 7 losses in a row for Team Canada against Team USA. Pretty shocking when you hear that number. Shots were 33-20. I know that you guys don't take a lot of meaning into the shots department, but I wanted to write it down here. Is the U.S. developmental program better than Canada's, or is this just some phase? And at some point, Canada will once again dominate and win 7 games in a row against Team USA. So, what do you guys think, Chris? What do you think of this long-winded question? Sorry, so long, but
Well, when's the last time Canada did dominate the U.S. by winning 7 games in a row? It's been years, right? It's been years. So will they ever be dominant again? Probably not. I think the Americans are going to be with them there all the time going forward. A lot of feedback on the old Twitter and social media about this game and the loss, and people were shocked. But for me, it just means that people don't watch women's hockey leading up to the Olympics because they just had their rivalry series and the Americans beat them 4-0. Right?
Yes.
I personally don't watch too much of women's hockey, but I do follow the results. And I knew coming in, Canada was in trouble, right?
Right. No, it doesn't surprise me. It really didn't surprise me.
So when the game happened and I saw the score, I'm like, well, that's on par with what's been happening lately. Is America developing better than Canada? Can't say as of right now. And the reason why I say this is because the numbers that were coming out was Canada has an older team. They've kept on bringing back the veterans in the past few years that have come through, right, and won the goals for them. But I believe the stat I saw that there was 7 or 8 American girls youngest than the youngest Canadian player on the team.
Right.
And there's other teams out there have 10 or 11, 12 players younger than the youngest player on Team Canada, right? So obviously with this result, I would expect some changes for next fall, and they're probably going to move on from the older group that's been there for a while, bring in the younger players. So we won't really know if we have a development problem right now until the end of this year, right? When these younger players get the opportunity to play the Americans, then we'll see where the younger group is. If they have trouble and they're still getting beaten 5-0, okay, maybe we need to see what's happening. But I always found over the years the American girls seem bigger than the Canadian girls. They do seem to skate better. And then, unfortunately, the Olympics, they're really showing the difference in athletes, maybe is a better word to say, at the national stage. So we'll see if this is a trend or not. I don't know the numbers of American girls playing versus Canadian. Like I don't know any of that stuff. I really haven't followed that. But over the last few years, always when I do watch a game, I find the Americans are quick and bigger and stronger than our girls, and maybe that's a trend that's going the wrong direction for us.
Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I kind of want to echo the points Chris made there too. The Americans have played over the last few years a lot better than the Canadians have done. And prior to that, in the games that, Canada has beaten the US in some big games, they were close games. Like Canada has not been like dominating the US. It's been quite a while. So, I mean, they may get away with getting some big lopsided wins over some of the other teams, like the Finns and the Swedes, and but even they've gotten better. So, um, yeah, I mean, and like Chris said about some of the players, like the Canada always tends to, and even with the men's team, they tend to stick with the guys that were there before, that won with them in the past. Like when you look at the men's team, like Drew Doughty, he probably should not be on the Olympic team if you were picking like overall skill and talent today. However, they give him the benefit of the doubt because he's been there before and this sort of thing. Same thing with Bennington, the goalie, even though he played great today, same type of thing. Like he's had a terrible season. If you were picking him based off of what his numbers have been, you don't pick him either. So, and this is what I find that the women's team does as well. And, like Chris alluded to, if things don't go that well for them this year, we may see a shift moving forward, with them going with some younger players like the States have done and some of the other teams. So I agree in that sense with what Chris had to say. So and and the same as Chris, I don't watch a ton of the women's games either, to be honest with you. So it's hard for me to come out and say with 100% certainty this is the case, just because I don't watch enough of it. But it
Fair
does
enough.
make sense.
Fair enough. I know that when I was watching the Americans play against Canada, they just looked a little bit quicker, a little bit sharper, maybe even a little bit faster.
Hmm.
So, we'll see what happens. But yeah,
But if I remember correctly, wasn't the last Olympics? Haley Wickenheiser scored the golden goal, right, to beat the Americans.
Was it her or was it Poulin?
I don't
Is that
think it
World
was
Championships?
Wickenheiser.
I don't.
I know. I thought Wickenheiser scored a goal to beat them in the Olympics. But
Maybe.
anyways,
I don't
Last one's
remember
are
now.
not.
the
Yeah, it's
last
so
one was
long.
Poulin. Yeah, I think Poulin scored the last one. Might have been World Championships, if I remember correctly. But I know when the Wickenheiser and they won that year, they were not the favorites. The Americans were beating them at that point too, leading into the
Yeah.
Olympics, right? And they
Yes.
got
Yeah.
outshot pretty bad, I thought, right? But Canada won. It was all about Canada grit and Canada this and Canada that. But even then, the Americans were showing to be, a better team overall. Um, I can't remember. I think the goaltender was an all-star. Right, had a good goal. We're Canadian having good goaltending, but yeah, I think when the girls came, our goaltending is holding us off. But yeah, this shift has been kind of ongoing. But yeah, Canada's won some of those rivalry series 4-3. Just barely scraping by.
Mm.
Unfortunately, now it looks like the Americans might be pulling ahead. But to
Right.
my knowledge, I think Canada's going to get the silver. Right? I'm not aware of another team that can really pose too much of a threat to them. Right? It's not doom and gloom. It's just they're just not the top team in the world anymore.
But if they don't get the gold, there will be articles written about it. There will be inquiries. They'll talk about it in Parliament.
Oh, people who don't follow it probably will. I think people who do follow this game knows the Americans have been there for the last 4, 6, 8 years, and the shift is
Right.
coming. It shouldn't be a shock.
Okay. Yeah.
The
No,
people
that's
who
fair.
only watch Olympic hockey girls, watch every 4 years, they're probably shocked, right? They're the ones who are probably going on Twitter going, "What the beep is going on?" Right?
That's true. And I'm going to make sure I post your Twitter handle in the notes because I think people should be following you on Twitter or X as it's
Maybe.
called. Yes. Well, you don't get yourself suspended too often, so
Yeah.
it's all right. Okay, now I came up with a fourth question for tonight, and this is something I'd been thinking of for a while, and I meant to throw it in here, and then I totally forgot about it. And then here I was sitting here today. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. So I'm going to spew what I've been thinking for a few weeks. I want to know what you guys think. Tell me if I'm totally off base. With 3 weeks off in the NHL schedule, when things do get going again, could it be that players who generally fizzle out as the season goes on, and yes, there are players that do that year after year, it happens, there are trends. Could it be more like the beginning of the season to them having 3 weeks off and not playing in the Olympics? In other words, could some players be better getting more points when they would normally be getting less points? And injuries might have a factor. People that are injured coming back after having 3 weeks off, that could change things too. What do you guys think? Is this a thing? Could it change maybe who you decide to pick up for your hockey pools? What do you think, Chris? Does this have any bearing on anything, or am I just really nuts?
Uh, I know for my pools, I'll probably be trying not to focus too much on that, on players that might benefit from it or not. It's hard. It's hard. We don't know what everyone's doing. We don't know if some guys are training, continue to train. I think a lot of them are going on vacation. Um, NHL is a grind for sure, and this little break's going to help some. Some it's probably not going to help, but for me to try to figure out who's doing what, yeah, that's that'll be very difficult for to figure out. And but I'm sure within the first week we're going to know. Like I feel like the first couple of games is going to be really bad in the NHL. Like wasn't
Right.
it the last time they had this break? It was the hockey was terrible
I
in the
believe
first week.
so. I
It
believe they
was
were talking about that. Yes.
yes, if I remember correctly, it was really brutal. So I suspect the same thing's going to happen. Anybody can. It's anybody's hockey game, probably within the first 2 or 3 games, and then those should start settling down again.
Mike, you going to change any of your players in your hockey pools? I know you're in a number of them. Let me just throw a name out there, just so that you don't think I'm totally crazy. It has been over the last few years, I found that Cole Caulfield, as the season went on, would slow down and not score as many goals. Now he's a smaller guy, maybe a bit, can't take the beating. Maybe just think, not in the Olympics and having 3 weeks, like he could come back like a house on fire here. Like I think he could get 50 goals this year, easy. Just to throw a name out there. What do you think? And maybe he was going to do that anyway, so maybe it doesn't matter because he's having a hell of a year this year.
Yeah, you never know, but I think the guys that this is going to benefit the most for is the guys that have been battling some injuries that aren't playing. Like, Evgeny Malkin, as an example, he started off lights out, and then he had a couple of injuries and that sort of thing. So, I think it's going to probably help him. I think any of the Russian players that aren't playing, if they're not doing anything, foolish on the break, I think they should be able to take full advantage when the games start back up. The ones that are playing, I mean, it's going to be a question mark with some of these guys because they're playing, and these games are not going to be easy. Some
No.
of these guys are going to get hurt. Like Morris, he got hurt today,
Yep.
so. They didn't really say what it was or anything like that, so who knows there. But I'm not probably going to change anything from what I've done in hockey pools. But, the first few games back, you'll obviously keep an eye on some guys that are available and that sort of stuff that have produced right off the get go. So you might want to try to grab one of these guys while you can if they start off quick coming back. But it's tough to say. I think more so it's going to benefit the guys that were battling injuries prior to the break, getting the rest to come back at 100%.
Okay. Do you guys know of any of these Russian players or maybe any country's players that are taking this time off and actually playing in the Russian league? Is that even allowed?
No,
No,
Are any of the players doing that?
no,
NHL wouldn't allow that. I'm
no.
guessing.
Teams, yeah, NHL teams, they'll be like, nope.
Man, I thought that was a good question. I thought maybe you might, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, so Poulin had 2 goals in the last Olympics, and they beat them Americans 3-2, but they're outshot 44-21. So yeah, they're winning, but
44-21, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Like I said too about that, the games that they are winning, they're overtime games or 1-goal games, and they're like
Mm-hmm.
decided in the last few minutes too. I know Canada, I think, tied one of the games like
4
super
minutes, they're
late.
down 2-0. They scored a couple goals, and that
Yeah,
was
so
the 2012 Sochi, I think.
yeah, so the days of
Poulin got the overtime goal in that one.
yeah, so the days of them dominating the Americans, those
They're done.
are done
Yeah.
for now. So, but anyways,
You might find this interesting, and I can't remember where I had read it, but that whole thing, maybe you remember where Wickenheiser was going on about how the Americans were stomping on the Canadian flag in the dressing room. Do you remember that?
I think that
yeah,
was the
yeah,
Vancouver. That was the Vancouver one, right? Vancouver Olympics?
Yes. Well, anyway, the article I was reading was saying that that was all just totally made up, never happened.
Yeah, I heard that too.
oh yeah,
But they won 2-0 in that one against the Americans. But I think they lost in the preliminary round against them, or they lost their
Yes, I believe
series
you're
against them
correct.
going in there. The
I believe
Americans
you're
thought they were
correct.
going to win, and yeah, and that's 20 years ago, Whitey. That was 20 years ago. The Americans were there and pushing us, right? So
Yeah, a lot of things changed, and the Americans have a lot more money to throw at a lot more things like that, and they
yeah.
can have more of a centralized system than Canada does. They have players all over the place here. So,
Mhm.
all right, well,
Yeah.
let's go on to our hockey profit segment, where you two are the hockey profits, and that's the way it is because it's my show, and that's what I say. So, are you two ready for some hockey profit questions?
Yep.
Okay, number one, Chris. Chris, how much ice time do you think Jarvis will get with the Olympic team when he finally plays?
How much playing time did Bennett have today?
I think it was around 6 or 7 minutes.
Yeah, it was to say, I'm assuming he's going to replace Bennett in the next game, and then after that, who knows what they're going to do. So it'll probably be similar time that Bennett had today.
Okay, Mike, number two. After making 40 saves against Team Sweden and getting hurt in the third period, will Damian Clara, Italy's goaltender, ever be the number one starter in Anaheim?
oh geez, that's tough to say. I
I
mean,
mean, he looked really good. He looked really
yeah,
good.
but Anaheim has Dostal there,
I
and
know.
he looks
I
like
know.
he's the. Yeah, I don't know. I don't. It's tough to say. I don't think so. I think that's Dostal's job, and I
So do
don't
you
think.
think that they'll get rid of him? Do you think that they'll trade him away somehow at some point?
No, I don't think so. However, I think Clara. At some point, these NHL teams, for the most part, are going to be splitting games 50-50 or 60-40. So, if he has a opportunity to get in there, I'd say maybe 40% of the time, that would probably be successful for him.
Okay. All right. Chris, number three. Team Canada just so happens to have back to back games at the Olympics, giving them a chance or an excuse maybe to play their second goalie in 2 nights.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Bennington is still going to be the starter by the end of the tournament?
Oh, well, he had a good start today. It'll be tough to. I know they got 3 games, and then they'll do the quarters and the qualifications, and then the quarterfinals and stuff. I just feel like the way they've been talking and hyping him up, I think they're going to ride him unless he really, really breaks down. I think they're going to ride him. But he's
I
not
think
playing tomorrow. Thompson will play tomorrow.
that's right. Yeah, I know Thompson's going to play tomorrow, and I think they're going to go back to Bennington after
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
personally. But I wanted to ask questions, see what you thought. Okay, Mike, number four. Team Slovakia beat Team Finland on Wednesday 4-1. Was this an upset?
Yeah, I guess you would say it is. On paper, anyways, when you're looking at the teams, Finland should have won the game. However, the Slovaks worked hard. Slavkovsky scored a couple of goals.
Yes, he
They
did.
were, they seem to gel pretty good. The Finns. I heard comments that the Finns thought that they were still the better team and should have won, but that didn't quite happen. So, yeah, I would say it's an upset. I mean, the Finns you'd think would be one of the top third or fourth teams in the tournament, but Slovakia looked good, and we'll see what they do. I'm not sure who their next opponent is, but that'll be interesting to see if they can duplicate it against whomever it is that they play next.
Okay, Chris, number 5. Now this
Hey,
might
hey,
go.
before we go to 5, if I can just add
Yeah,
on to that, and I
sure.
know it kind of came up and people talked about it, and I totally agree. I don't know what it is with Slovakian goaltending at the World Juniors, the World Championships, and the
Yeah.
Olympics, but other than Halak, none of them have really made a dent in the NHL. And this Slovakian goalie last night, I think, is one of the worst AHL goalies in the league, and he played like that. So I guess when Slovakian goalies play for their country, they look like they're all like studs, and then they come over for the paycheck in North America, and they're just horrendous, just terrible.
It's
So yeah,
hurricane
I looked it
material.
up just to make sure, and I'm like, yeah, Halak is the only guy.
I don't know what to
Anyways,
say.
I
I
just
don't
wanted
know
to
what
make
to
a
say.
comment on Slovakian goaltending.
Well, I remember back in 2015 when I had gone to the World Juniors, they had Dennis Godla was the goalie, and he was like, never made it in the NHL. I don't even didn't even get a chance to. Um, Stood at like Canada, I think had like 60 shots on him. Like it was insane the amount of shots, and he played great, and the fans were just cheering for him afterwards. He was named Slovakia's Player of the Game, and when he went up to get his award, the fans were they were going crazy, like for
Hmm.
him. So yeah, I don't know what it is either. Like Chris said, these Slovakian goalies decide to become heroes when they get a chance to play under the big lights, I guess.
Okay, well, Chris, number 5 may give you an easy answer to this, just because of what we were talking about here. So,
Hmm.
is there a team that could play spoiler in this tournament, Chris?
A lot of people thought it was going to be the Czechs. They didn't look very good today, and when you look at their lineup, they're a one-line team. Like they got
They,
top end guys in that first line, and after
they
that,
are they are a one-line team.
it's quite a drop off in the defense. It's like, ooh, wow, Raka Gudis? Oh, you're in trouble, boys. You are in trouble. Um, and then, well, if that Slovakian goaltender keeps playing that way, I Switzerland, and Denmark. If you're looking for dark horses, they got some NHL guys. That they could probably make some headway if yeah, I think they were the dark horses. They might be able to in the qualification round. Maybe they can upset somebody.
Okay, yeah, and I think it's the Swiss that play Canada tomorrow, I believe.
Is it
I think it's
Swiss?
Swiss. So, all right, and finally, number 6, Mike, and I'm sure you guys will be glad when this is all over with. Mike, I have a very important question for you here. Will Team Canada win the gold medal? There you go. That's it.
Oh,
That's the important question. Are they going to win it, Mike?
I believe so. I think they will. Um, it should come down to them in the states, but the thing with the states is it just seems to happen every so often with them. They get upset in one of these playoff games by a team that you wouldn't expect to upset them. Not that it hasn't happened to Canada, but it's happened, I think, more frequently with the states than it did has with Canada. I mean, this year in the World Juniors, the states got knocked out pretty quickly. So, um, yeah, I think Canada will win the gold. So that's my pick.
I think it, I think these two teams, U.S. and Canada, they need to hopefully they can avoid Sweden at at any point to get to the final. I think Sweden is probably the
potential.
scariest team with the most talent
Right.
in their lineups. Because if Finland had Barkov, that's a huge difference. But Sweden's got they're loaded, even with some injuries. They're still pretty low. When who is it? He was the 13th forward, Forsberg, right? Forsberg was the 13th forward.
Yes.
Nashville
Yes.
played a minute. It's like, yeah, Sweden's got a they got a good team. So I think Canada and US are probably hoping to avoid those guys in
Fair
the
enough.
semifinals and so on.
Fair enough. Now I have a couple other things here from that article from the Daily. A couple of articles from the Daily Faceoff. I was reading them, and Scott, he's got a quote here, and I just want to know what you guys think of this. Uh, if only Canada had another dynamic offensive defenseman to bring to the Olympics, one
Mm-hmm.
that had established chemistry with their best player. A shame that such a player doesn't exist.
Yeah, I saw that quote.
Wondering what you guys think of this. I mean, he must be referring to Bouchard. I'm guessing he's talking about Bouchard here. Is that what he's talking about?
He's talking about Bouchard, and it's because the Americans have
Wierenski too, right?
Renski as the backup.
Yeah,
He's basically saying Americans have two stud offensive defensemen. You look at
right.
Canada and you're like, I think Morrissey gets a little, I think he's getting a short stick here. Morrissey is really, really talented. And Theodore is pretty good too.
I mean, yes, he's
But
not a, you know,
yeah, Theodore can play offense too. But I understand the concept saying, yeah, if they've got Marinsky in their back pocket, why don't we have Bouchard? I understand where he was coming from that comment. Yeah.
Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Bouchard does lead the NHL in defense scoring right now. So, uh, I get it, but I think that, I mean, they were a little too paranoid about his defensive deficiencies uh, to bring him along. But I'll be honest, I would have rather had him than Sanheim or
Mm-hmm.
Doughty. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if Makar was to get hurt, who fills that spot? I
Yeah.
mean, yes, Morrissey's good, but he doesn't have the offensive talent that Bouchard has. So, I mean, worst case scenario, I think they should have brought him, especially over Sanheim. And if they wanted to healthy scratch him and only use him if they needed to, then that's what I would have done. And I mean, I'm a Flyers fan, and I don't think they should have brought Sanheim over him. But you know how Canada is; they're loyal to their guys that got them there before, and
Well,
they
well,
tend to stick with
Cooper,
these guys until they lose. Then
well,
they'll change.
Cooper's very loyal, and I think he wanted the same 8 defensemen that he had, at the
Yeah,
Four Nations, and he's just like going to go with it no matter what. That's what it
yeah.
looks
Well,
like to me.
I had heard too that he wanted Sam Bennett as part of the original team too, and I think he got overruled on it. So
Oh, interesting. Now I've got one more quote here from Scott. Thank God Canada starts the tournament with a back-to-back, basically forcing them to rotate their goalies off of the hop. Hopefully, whoever they throw into the second game outperforms Bennington by enough of a margin that they don't go back to him. It could be the difference between a gold and a lesser medal. And I thought that was an interesting quote. I mean,
And
we
he's
already
fine.
discussed this, but
Yeah.
this is before he saw Bennington play today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, this
Yeah.
article was written earlier in the week. So, you know, do you think he's sitting there going, "Damn it, Bennington,
Yeah.
jeez"?
100%. 100%.
What do you think?
yeah, um, pretty hard to look at it any other way at this point. I mean, Bennington got a shutout today, so it's not like that Thompson's going to outperform him tomorrow.
No.
So, especially considering that the Czechs should be a better team than the Swiss, but yeah, it's like Chris said earlier. They're going to go back to Bennington for the third game. I mean, how can you not? I mean, he got a shutout today, so I don't think it
Yep.
really much matters what Thompson does tomorrow. Uh, they'll go back to Bennington no matter what because of the shutout today.
And he was basically got pretty much body checked there today, Bennington, and got thrown down by one of the players there, one of the Czech players, and the announcers were like, "Man, that should be a penalty." And Bennington got up, and the defenseman got right in the guy's face, whoever it was. I don't know which player it
Harley.
was.
Yeah, Harley.
Yeah, and Bennington's like, "It's okay, it's cool, I'm good, I'm good." And we've seen Bennington have a short fuse sometimes, but in the Olympics, that is not Bennington. It doesn't seem like he did not have a short fuse today. He's like, "No, no, everything's cool. Don't worry about it. Don't get a penalty. Everything's good." So I just thought I would throw that in there after when I was watching the game. I thought that was interesting. So, well, it's going to be interesting to see how Team Canada does tomorrow and how these other teams do. So, if anybody wants to tune in and see how they do, come on back here next week because we'll talk about it, no doubt, over this break. So, like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you next week. Later.
Later.